you need to make a statement about why.
Mm.
And then secondly, I would strongly suggest that the Senate say that nothing is gonna be decided.
Yes,
If, Eric.
yeah. Is that what, is that the same?
Can we also invite?
Please.
Unless you plan on, you don't need to, that's actually the plan.
I think just making
Yeah.
it clear that there's nothing, that the budget process doesn't include you voting on any preliminary budget. You're going to give feedback to the president on the preliminary budget, so she can form her final.
And there'll be another meeting,
Was a discussion.
I will not be at that meeting. But yes.
but there's more.
Sure. Are we live, Holly? Sorry.
Yes, we are live streaming now.
Oh, yeah, Yeah, but we just exited closed session.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can let everyone. in?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, let's put it on there. Okay, perfect.
We're gonna.
It was a got it, okay, that works. Senator Shalana, we're gonna move to discussion items and then president's report. Does that work, or do you want to do it in discussion items? Okay, in discussion, we'll do it right in discussion items, yeah.
Motion to enter the following,
Senator Shalana,
motion to enter the following explanation of the closed session discussion into the minutes. The Senate President discussed the preliminary budget proposal on the issue of program board rollover allocation.
there's been a motion to enter a closed session discussion on the president's.
No.
Motion to enter the following explanation of the closed session discussion into the minutes. The Senate and the President discussed preliminary budget proposal and the issue of program board rollover allocation.
Second.
Second by Rowan on discussion. All right, call the question, Jack, call the question.
Consent.
All right, consent, object to consent. Seeing none, motion passes. We remain discussion items. I guess. Mr. President,
Okay.
Madam President, I'm sorry.
Okay. So the Senate has heard this in full detail for an hour, but now just to repeat it on the record publicly. The preliminary budget that I'm presenting, that is to be debated, discussed, and given feedback from the Senate to myself to form the final budget. Only has one adjustment, two adjustments from what F&B had originally presented in their budget. I've made an adjustment to the Public and Mental Health Commission, as they have provided me their 2024-2025 fiscal plan. And I've increased their special projects budget by 20,000 from the F&B budget that was given to them, which puts them just 2,000 under their full budget request. And I had informed them of this prior to the preliminary budget being announced to you here. The allocations from every single BCU have been cut based on a new financial policy that F&B plans on creating. The goal is to make sure that no BCU has the ability to allocate funding outside of their BCU to ensure financial responsibility. These are the points that F&B has given me, and I will read them publicly. BCUs are not trained to give out monies, RCOs, and outside groups. Only F&B and those who are charged by legal code and ballot language should be the only ones allowed to give out money. We need to write a specific restriction in financial policy and implementation. We need to develop financial training and literacy for BCUs on how to access their funds in AS financial policy. And we can revisit the topic of BCUs allocating funding to outside organizations at a later date when the training has been completed. The second change that you'll notice is that there is in this budget, which again is subject to change, there is $500,000 in finance and business unallocated and $2 million that has been moved out of AS program boards rollover. The reasoning behind this is that there's many, but students would be upset to know that we haven't spent money that was given to us and it's been accumulated over the past decade. Rollover should never be relied upon or accumulate to this degree. It's really important as this move also has a legal code foundation and the association as a whole would benefit that we consider what we do with this money to redistribute it equitably. The new proposal that I have created, which includes a reallocation to a trustee account by legal code, that is not a decision that I am making or the Senate is making. That is just in legal code, that there is not allowed to be an amount higher than 250,000 in a capital reserve. Therefore, anything above 250,000 will be moved into a trustee account for AS Program Board. And any other, honestly, any other VCU with a higher rollover amount than 250,000 will be moved into a trustee account. So my proposal is from AS Program Board's rollover. I recommend an on-call sum, which means they can spend any money with a cap of $500,000. So F&B will get to basically if they get only $50,000 worth of requests, they only spend 50,000. If they get 500,000, then 500. The on-call sum up to 500,000 only to finance a business with AS Program Board and Senate approval. The rest of AS Program Board rollover will be considered in the next fiscal year with a requirement for Program Board to provide a full plan for the budget team for how they will spend the rollover. Everything else other than 250,000 will be moved into a SNP program trustee account to earn interest. So AS Program Board will have more money and available funds to use as it is required by legal code and because it far exceeds what's allowed and also gives more spending money to Program Board in the long run because it will be earning interest. The on-call sum of up to 500,000 would be given to F&B for BCUs and RCOs. After a request is submitted and F&B's approval, the BCU or RCO funding request would move to a special committee comprised of 2 AS Program Board members, 2 senators, and the IBPS chair for approval. The special committee would need to undergo the same financial training as F&B and find a meeting time that works for them when necessary. F&B is going to receive these funds because they're available to field requests for AS Program Board so that they can focus on programming. They have a financial evaluation system in flux and would essentially act as a screening committee while the special committee would approve each request. This way there's collaboration, funds are being used to benefit the entire association that have been sitting dormant for nearly a decade. And in the interim between the preliminary and final budget, I request that Program Board come up with a multi-year comprehensive spending plan for however much of the rollover they would like to spend, including from the trustee balance. And you can hire more people to accommodate these new needs. This is all in keeping with ballot language and legal code. The money would have to be spent on an events-led mission. And yeah, it would just allocate the budget in a way that best serves the entire association, doesn't benefit a single unit. We need to be equitable. And of course, all of this would be in line with respecting AS Program Board's original mission and their ability to continue it. So yeah, that's the plan. It's subject to any change. This would be, in addition, this whole part for Program Board's rollover and any additional rollover would be in a motion that the Senate would pass with the budget. If you have any amendments or notes to the budget that have been sent to your email inboxes, as well as this plan for Program Board, please send them to me as soon as possible. Reminding you that Passover starts next Monday evening, so I will be out of commission for about a week. And I need enough time to be able to formulate the final budget for you. So please keep that in mind. Send me your notes as they come to you. It doesn't necessarily need to be at the unified Senate. It can also just be opinions that you have. And that way we can continue discussing it. And I look forward to moving in a collaborative direction in a way that's suitable for everyone. Yeah.
I just want to say, this is a great preliminary place to start. And I want to say thank you so much for coming in to present, and we'll happily take any input as well. So thank you so much for coming.
Of course. Anything else, you guys? Any questions, concerns?
What is open?
Okay. I'll be on the East Coast this weekend, but please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, we are on Senator Solomon.
Motion to invite the chair of the AS Program Board to speak in discussion items.
There's been a motion to invite the chair of the AS Program Board to speak in discussion items. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carol. We're now discussion.
Call question.
All right, call the question. Objective, call the question.
Discussion.
Subject to consent. Seeing none, motion passes. Catherine, are you good to speak now?
Yeah.
Senator Solomon.
Motion to enter into discussion.
There's been a motion to enter into open discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carol. We're now discussion. All right, call the question. Objective, call the question.
Consent.
Right, consent. Objective to consent. Seeing none, motion passes. Is there a time limit on that, or is it just? Okay, but feel free to begin whenever you want.
Hi, everyone. This is, I know that you guys have been deliberating into this discussion about the budget, and I obviously haven't had time to fully adjust my initial public forum prompt that I have prepared. So I'm going to read as is what I've prepared, in addition to adding things on as in regards to what was just presented by the president. I wanted to come here today in regards to something that the AS president approached Program Board with this Monday. She approached program board on Monday to inform us of her planned recommendation to Senate to allocate 80% of ASPB's lock-in rollover to be allocated to BCUs for events. This plan would be equally distributed across 5 years. And as she mentioned, it would be first given to FNB, and then allowing them to allocate funds as they see fit with their requests. However, this decision was not made in consultation with ASPB members, and we were not given any vote in her creation of this recommendation, although it deals with AS program board funds. Additionally, as we learned of this only on Monday, there's no advance notice of her plans. This has the potential to additionally affect all BCUs and entities that have a lock-in, as it sets precedent that any BCU funded by a lock-in with rollover could have it taken away from them at the end of each year. Yesterday, I met with various staff at UCSB and in AS, including KCSB advisors, the Associate Dean of Student Life, and the Executive Director of AS, Marcella. All gave me the same answer. Given how ASPB is funded through lock-in fees that students vote on and reaffirm every 2 years, this creates a contract between students and ASPB. ASPB then becomes responsible for allocating these funds as members of the board, working to fulfill the mission of the board for programming. Board members of ASPB, not finance and business, are able to field requests for co-sponsorships and have always welcomed entities to come to public forum during our meetings. We have the most knowledge of putting on events, as we put on over 100 events each year, including many large-scale events, all of which I have talked about during my reports and will continue to talk about when I give my chair report. We undergo a thorough process when planning these events, including artists and venues, deciding as a board what is the correct amount of money to send to each artist, publicizing our events with traffic and on social media, and organizing day of show responsibilities, including tickets, lines, hospitality, event safety, production, and other activities. Members of AS program board vote on how we spend our money. This is an in-depth process and is something that we ensure matches our mission statement and is a good use of student fees that the students have entrusted us with. We acknowledge that program board rollover has gotten large and are coming up with a plan to use that money. We have never turned down a co-sponsorship request from other entities and enjoy doing these co-sponsorships. This year, we have co-sponsored events with Parents and Family Weekend, the EVPLA office, the MCCC, EAB, and TQCom. Our deliberation process for co-sponsorship considers the event and amount of money they are requesting in order to ensure that it is reasonable and something that matches ASPB's mission plan in regards to planning events for the campus community. We do not allocate funding to other groups. We only co-sponsor events. I want to continue to advocate that AS program board knows how to co-sponsor these events and knows how to correctly accept funding co-sponsorship requests, because we do more events than all other entities within AS. Like I said, we put on over 100 events each year, and all of them are well attended, and many of them have capacities of over 800 people. And a lot of them are ticketed events. So I really want to emphasize the fact that we do a variety of events, cultural events, movies, concerts, lectures, and more each year. To assume that members of AS program board are not able to accurately focus on programming, our typical programming, as well as to field these requests, is to ignore our capacity as a board. We have extensive knowledge about events and willingly listen to co-sponsorship opportunities as they arrive to us. Creating a plan to deal with our rollover is something that ASPB will do and has been doing. Again, I would like to reiterate that no one outside ASPB members has the authority to expend ASPB funds on our behalf, including the AS president. The students have voted to put the responsibility to expend these funds on AS program board members, no one else. And that's really all I had to say right now. But if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer them.
Floor is open to questions. Senator Lebowski?
I was just wondering, I guess, like, what is your specific plan with your rollover, that you're going to be using with the 2.5 million?
Yeah. I think that's something that we've been talking a lot about as a board recently, especially given the past couple of days, and something that's really been on my mind since doing the budget presentations for FNB for the next year. But I would also like to emphasize that while we can name some off the top of our heads of direct examples that we are thinking of doing, and we discussed that on Monday in our public forum with Tesla as well. But it would also be irresponsible of me to suggest that we would be able to come up with a multi-year comprehensive plan to allocate all of those funds within 4 weeks, especially given the fact that we are in the middle of planning our largest event of the year, Extravaganza, which has a capacity of over 12,000 students, on top of several other large-scale events. So while we are starting the process, and we have our thoughts in mind of where we can initially begin that process. But I would also like to emphasize the fact that I'm about to term out and a lot of board members are about to term out. And we are about to enter a new program board with different members in charge and different members on board. And strategic planning like this would require a long conversation, not only because this is not something that we normally do. This is not something anyone in my history of being on board, I've been on board for 4 years. No one on board has been tasked with this ever, in my knowledge. And it would also take time to develop what the next year's board would also think, because I believe that they should also have input in what happens with this rollover. Again, we know it is a lot of money, and it is something that we have been talking about as a board, especially recently. But again, it takes time to come up with a plan to allocate $2.5 million. And I do not think that it is feasible to come up with that plan within 4 weeks, within a year, perhaps. However, like I said, because I'm about to term out and several of our board members are about to term out as well. And this is being asked on us in addition to all of our typical programming, and we're about to enter our most time intensive events. It would be irresponsible for me to suggest that we would be able to come up with a multi-year comprehensive plan in such a short amount of time, given that I don't have expertise on spending or allocating $2.5 million, and no one on our board does. It is something that's going to take a while, but it is something that we are willing to do and willing to do with cooperation. And again, I would like to involve future members of our board in this conversation as well, because this is going to impact individuals beyond just me. And I love program board, and I do not want to leave program board in having to deal with an aftermath of this.
Thank you, Karen. Senator Shaw.
Thank you so much for coming. We entered into a discussion, so that's the purpose of this is for the Senate to be able to freely communicate with you, just like we freely communicated with the president earlier. So I do want to kind of go in a back and forth format before we rather than kind of asking you a long-winded question. But I do feel like since your email has attracted a lot of attention to this issue, I feel like now it's kind of our responsibility to sort of present the full story. And a part of that full story is that this association's budget moving into next year was in a $641,000 deficit. We don't have enough money. Every single BCU is getting less money than they requested down the line. Many BCUs have been cut to just their lock-in or just their rollover. Program board is the only organization in AS which for 10 years has not spent its entire budget. So that frames our conversation here. I completely understand where you're coming from, but I just need you to understand that what we see, at least what I see, I'm going to speak for other people, is that you receive the largest individual allocation of any organization within associated students other than staff salaries, and then consistently do not spend it, which accumulates to a massive rollover, a rollover that constitutes a significant fraction of all of our capital reserves, and a rollover that's being stored in such a way that we aren't even earning interest on that money. So there's a couple of layers here that need addressing. And the first order layer is that the part where the money is not in a trustee account is just a violation of legal code already. It's a mistake that hasn't been caught for 8 years and it's no one's fault, but it needs to be moved to a trustee account. So there's no question about that. The question as to how the money should be spent. I understand that it's difficult for you to come up with a comprehensive plan quickly. But in a couple of weeks, this Senate needs to come up with a comprehensive plan of how to spend $18 million. And that includes this money. And moreover, there's, to me, there's a serious concern raised here because from what I hear, you're saying that it's, on one hand, you have the bandwidth to handle outside requests, but on the other hand, you don't have the bandwidth to kind of collaborate with F&B or present, you know, a rollover plan. And from my understanding, I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure this question was asked during budget deliberations winter quarter. And I remember trying to follow up in various ways. So I don't think this is like, this is not a surprise. I don't think it is. I understand that President Vexler's particular plan kind of came out of nowhere for you and for us. The rollover has been, and it feels incredibly financially irresponsible for me to cut services, cut events, and cut expenditures that other organizations of AS need to accomplish, while this money is just sitting in the account. And one last point here, and I just want to give everyone like the same kind of information that we have on the question of legality. I think that you're looking at a pretty narrow interpretation. Legal code does provide for the removal of rollovers from lock-in accounts. And while program board is exempt.
That would be next level.
Excuse me, please mute yourself, please. Sure.
We could also just mute the laptop, like press the mute button on the laptop. Top left, yeah, thank you. So while program board is exempt from the automatic process, most organizations that get a lock-in actually automatically go to trustee account if that rollover isn't approved by the Senate. So there's nothing stopping the Senate from making that action. Now, I want to hear your case as to why we shouldn't, and like, we haven't made a decision yet. But I do want to be clear that the decision here is going to be motivated by the overall financial situation of the association and much less to do with the program board specific situation. And program board is in a uniquely financially kind of healthy, and I would even say overfunded state. And then when I don't say overfunded to mean that you have more money than you are spending consistently, right? It's not a one-off thing. And that makes me kind of question the narrative. Like, okay, here's the question. The question is, you're saying that if we take the rollover, it affects your ability or the board's future ability to function. In particular, you're saying that next year, if we took this rollover, that would, you know, affect their ability. I don't see how it affects the ability. And I want you to explain, like, because you're not even spending the full budget this year. So what does the rollover have to do with what you're planning? Sorry, that's a lot of content, but feel free to respond.
There's a couple things I want to note on here in response to the various things that you've asked. I will do my best to remember
I can repeat
all the
it.
points, yeah. I do acknowledge that obviously it is unfortunate, and I really wish that all the VCUs would be able to be funded and have these events. And I know that the purpose of this plan is to allow the VCUs within AS to function, to be able to function, like, period, end of sentence, like, so that they are able to function. In regards to the first point I wanted to bring up is in regards to the budget process with F&B. During my meeting, that was the first time I had been asked about a plan with the rollover. That was kind of the first time it was brought up to my attention. And I said that I would be open to making a plan. And I didn't really hear anything after that in response to like follow-ups or anything like that. I don't think I have anything in my email.
I didn't reach out to you
Okay,
specifically,
yeah. And then the other time would be, I think one of the senators brought it up when I did my winter quarter chair report. And again, I said that I was open to creating that budget, but I didn't realize that it was something that would have to be made within like such a short amount of time. So I think that part of the process was something that wasn't as clearly communicated to me. So that was essentially what caught us like heavily off guard.
For sure.
And okay, you might have to remind me of some, yeah.
Specifically, if you could answer how the rollover affects your decision. I'll ask a very specific question rather than a hypothetical. How does the rollover affect your decision-making this year, right? You have 1.4 million in operating budget that was given to you for this year, but also another more than almost double that in rollover. How does that impact your decision making this year, knowing that you have that padding? Like, what does that give you extra in terms of what
Yeah.
you've been able to accomplish and so on?
Yeah, first, something that I did remember, I know that there have been concerns about us like not using our full budget, and I think that's something that was brought up during our meeting, during public forum on Monday. And we were presented with the number of $300,000 as the expenditures that we had spent this year. And I know that that is
No,
not
that's
an
wrong.
accurate number, and I assume that you guys, based on that reaction, you are aware of that. In regards to rollover, I think it would be irresponsible to create that entire plan without consulting future boards, because it does deal with program boards funds, and it does deal with money that was specifically allocated towards program board through our lock-in. And during my entire time on board, I have always operated under the assumption of we are not to touch the rollover at all. Like, that is something, not at all, but it is something that we do not aim to do. We don't want to overspend each year. And therefore, we have, in discussion of buying certain things or upgrading certain equipment, we have turned that down for us, because we wanted to be able to function and put on events. And that's something that I think all of us on board were realizing that we should be spending this rollover. We talked briefly as a board about using some of that money to upgrade our sound system, which is massively outdated. I think it's like from the 90s, and we are in the 2020s, as well as doing some things that we just haven't done since COVID, because a lot of things have gone out of touch because we were online for a year and a half.
Can I
yeah.
jump in and ask? So I totally hear what you're saying. I want to avoid giving the impression that we're like pressuring you to spend the money, while simultaneously saying that, like, to me, it feels like there's a kind of, you're in a very different financial situation than other orgs in AS. And as a result, I'm trying to suss out, not your specifically, but program boards kind of philosophy towards spending. And what I mean by that is, if you're expecting to come short of spending your full budget each year, that's financially healthy kind of in a vacuum. But given the information about the rollover, we'd actually be hoping that you'd kind of overspend each year by a couple $100,000, and then over time that would bleed out. Because I don't know if this has ever been actually explicitly communicated, but rollovers are bad. Like, having rollovers is not a desired effect. So has that even been communicated? Like, has the staff advisor communicated that or anything?
Yeah, under my impression, actually, at least I can speak for myself, I was under somewhat of the impression that every year we had actually been dipping into our rollover. Just because a lot of our finances and expenditures are processed a long time after the event, just given the nature of how it's processed. Which I know we were recently charged for extravaganza catering from last year, just as an example. And that's not the only thing. We were charged for one of the films from 2021 or 2022. So there have been errors. And I think that's important to note, that we do receive a lot of retroactive removal of funds from our account, due to expenditures. Like, it's through the through how we have already agreed to spend the money, that it's being removed from our account retroactively. And I forget, there's a second half of that, but
If it would be fair, could we let Senator Carlson jump up then?
I'm just wondering, I understand having like the usefulness of a piggy bank that you'd be able to pull money from in case of additional retroactive funding requests coming to light year after year after year. My question is, on what order of magnitude are these requests being made to program board? Are they in the thousands, the tens of thousands, in the hundreds of thousands? To what extent does the piggy bank that you guys are sitting on, how large does it need to actually or effectively be in order to support programs board current function right now and continuing function down the line? That's question number one. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a really important thing, and I will say it varies heavily per year. So I don't know what the limit would be, and I can only provide what we've been given in the past. And again, like it would vary heavily per year, just depending on how things are processed.
So then the information that you would be able to provide would be for this year only. Is that kind of somewhat accurate?
Or for previous years. Obviously, we can't predict the future.
Of course.
But yes, before I had a point that I just remembered that I wanted to make in regards to what Senator Shawnold said. And I think that it is really important to emphasize that we are open to co-sponsorships and we
Yeah.
do really want to co-sponsor events. Again, we have never turned down a co-sponsorship request that was fully, like, that we were given a number for. Everything that has been presented to us has been within reasonable amounts. That has been a full proposal. And I think that is a way that perhaps going forward that when we are thinking about this multi-year comprehensive plan is a way for almost a middle ground to be reached where program board still would remain in more control over our finances and the money in our account, while still supporting BCUs.
Senator Wang, it is open discussion right now, so.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick point. First of all, thanks for coming here to speak. I just want to make a quick point that AS Program Board is not unique in that it does have retroactive charges. Many organizations actually do deal with this, but what many organizations choose to do to combat this issue is they just have one dedicated position, a treasurer or something like that, just to tabulate their expenses, because the expenses that you have on a spreadsheet for expenditures will naturally be different than the ones in a bank account because of these retroactive charges. So my question to you is, have you considered exploring when opening a position dedicated to just do very simple basic accounting, like even on a Google spreadsheet or something like that?
Yeah,
Just to solve this really big issue that seems to be happening.
yeah, that's definitely something that we would be open to discussing. It's not something that we have thought of doing before, but it's definitely something that we would be open to considering and adding that.
Do you mind if I hop? Yeah. So, sorry, just shift back a little bit. Let me just be transparent with you of the proposal that we are being asked to discuss, and I want to hear specifically where the sticking points are for you. Because I don't think necessarily, I think there's actually more of a difference in language than actually in terms of what is being materially discussed. So just so we have the same information, I pulled up the year-end balances spreadsheet, which I can share with you if you'd like. It's incredibly detailed, but right now in an account, which is AS 301, which is Program Board Ops, you have year-end, so it's a little less than this now, but $3,097,000. Huge amount of money. It's the largest operating budget in AS. Now, the president asked us to consider a plan where in order to match the deficits that are in the budget, that total $640,000, they would go through, we would go through, cut every place where BCUs would otherwise make allocations to RCOs and outside groups. And then if you take all that money and add it into F&E from your rollover, you get a balanced budget. Roughly speaking, there's a few more things that need to happen, but roughly speaking, you get a balanced budget. That plan, the president has kind of amended that to say that there would be a special committee with the leadership from Program Board and some leadership from Senate to reaffirm these things, so that Program Board still has kind of control over these things. The distinction from the current process here is that it wouldn't be a sponsorship, it would be disbursement. And I can understand the anxiety of that, where you're giving up control of the funds, but it would still be toward the goals that Program Board has. It would be just in a decentralized way through RCOs and through other DCUs. And I understand there are drawbacks to that, but I just don't see another way to make the budget work, to be honest. And I want to accommodate, I don't want you to feel like you're being attacked and your money is being taken. But at the same time, we need to remember that we're trying to steward all of this students' money. And I think that this feels like a pretty fair deal, and that the Program Board could still set the policy for how that money is spent and could still lead the initiatives for what RCOs are spending money on. It's just a decentralized programming. So rather than Program Board necessarily co-sponsoring these things, which it still could do, it is kind of dispersing it little by little for one RCO to put on a little event which still serves the purpose that program board's trying to achieve. And the operating budget the program board would be working with would not change. It's still the same amount of money to spend next year as there was this year. And the trustee account that would be created would be earning you interest. So while you do lose some money, you also gain some money back in that regard. So at least I just want to make the proposal clear if it wasn't, and hear what your thoughts are. Again, this is the president's proposal. We haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah, I think the main issue, because you asked like what our
Yeah.
main like issue was, I think the big issue that us as board has found is that a lot of this was done without our consultation. And it's something that we learned about on Monday when the president attended public forum.
Yeah.
And when we presented alternatives and different ways that we could collaborate, it was not very well accepted, which I know is not like your responsibility or anything like that. But I did want to inform you of that, because a large issue, or maybe not so much an issue, but something that I do want to emphasize is that all program board does is events. That is our one purpose. Events for the campus and events for the community. And because of that, we train all of our members, the incoming commissioner trains all of the members in how to thoughtfully discuss artists and go through this entire lengthy process of planning events and choosing who is brought to UCSD and what type of events serve program board's mission statement. And to decentralize that, and I know that perhaps I'm taking a little liberty here, or maybe you can also cut, or like, and perhaps you can also provide more insight from your end. But I think that because we have the most knowledge about how program board deals with campus events, and we have extensive knowledge on this subject, it is almost better for program board to field these requests because we understand what is a normal amount to pay an artist, even if that's not the event in question, even if you're talking like something way smaller than booking like a professional artist or even an Isla Vista band. It's something that we do as our job. And it seems that is something that I just really want to emphasize because that is our entire purpose as an organization to put on these events. And we would like to continue being able to do that for the community and supporting other VCUs through that way.
So that's all great. It sounds to me like despite the abrupt and very, like, I'm sorry that the communication was the way that it was, like that part is unacceptable to me. While we're on the topic of communication, I didn't feel like the entities wide email was necessarily the most productive next step. I understand that you felt kind of cornered and attacked, and so like I get that. Neither of these kind of forms of communication felt like the most, we're kind of in the middle, so sorry about that. It does sound like the most recent version of the proposal though does include that sort of, like, I think there is something here we can work out where the program board's unique expertise is used in combination with the finance and business committee's unique financial expertise, right? Because we wouldn't want to have program board members also need to be experts in financial policy. That's what the finance committee is for. And I think that there is a way to have both, right? Where it's 2 layers of supervision, where a program board is making sure that things are being done efficiently with the money that's coming out of your rollover account. The events are still being done to your standard. And the finance committee is making sure that these are in line with policy and in line with strategy. So it does sound like there is a middle ground here. Would that be an acceptable middle ground if we work out the details in such a way that you have, like, I'm not asking you to agree to it here, but like, is there a plan here that could work? Does this sound workable?
Yeah, it's definitely something that program board is a lot more open to discussing.
Okay, well, yay.
And then also in regards to the association-wide email, sorry, I wanted to send that out of transparency.
Yeah.
And to explain that I did not feel that we were given the correct process in receiving this information and making sure that we keep faith and trust within this association is really important for me. And especially regarding transparency, because after our meeting on Monday, when I was in contact with everyone that I had mentioned earlier, no one was aware of this. So I think because also this could have the potential to affect other BCUs and other entities within AS. It's not just program board, regardless of, and it does not matter how much money we have in rollover or whatever amount of money we have in rollover. It is about setting precedent and going through the correct process. And that was my intention with the email, to spread that information and make sure that other entities were aware of this, because I know that a lot of individuals I had contacted were not aware of this at all.
I totally get that. I want to share like what I know from discussing this with on the president's end, which is that there's kind of a chicken and egg thing here where the president wanted to present the preliminary proposal to us first before going public with it. Whereas I completely understand wanting to go public. I do want to be clear to hear that it was a preliminary proposal, so it hadn't yet been discussed publicly, so people not knowing about it is sort of the expectation. And the reason for that is because it's often pretty difficult to discuss delicate financial details in such a public forum. It's always like very charged, but it hopefully like, anyway, I don't think this is the best form to figure that out. I hope that you got some answers to what you're looking for. Just to clarify again, I want to make sure that like I understand where you are. You do think we can continue discussing a plan with some sort of shared governance over this between the finance committee and program board in terms of expenditures and disbursements to RCOs and DCUs.
I mean, I'm only the chair of my board, and obviously I would like to give voice to the other members of my board and also have this in discussion with our advisor and other staff officials who are obviously far more aware of certain issues, because again, like students are only here for 4 years roughly. So there's only a limited amount of knowledge that we can gain. But it is something that we are more open to discussing. And this seems like a more conducive channel of communication.
I don't want to give you the impression that we want to cut the president out either, though, because we won't be able to, like, our process works such that the president sends us a recommendation and then we change it and finalize it. So I wouldn't, like, I hope there's, I mean, beef or no beef, but I hope that like we can keep the president in that line of.
Yeah,
But
that's something.
I'm glad we could have this back and forth and start taking up so much space.
It was open for any other questions. Senator Rowe?
I just want to say generally, thank you for coming and talking to us. I really appreciated hearing from you firsthand, and I'm sorry about your frustrations.
It's okay, thank you. I've learned a lot about AS within the past 2 days.
Sorry.
For the better, or for the worse.
While I have everyone here, broadly speaking, if I might, the financial situation broadly within AS has been kind of creeping not so good year over year. And if we want to blame it on one direct thing, it can be said that going out of COVID, everyone got really comfortable with rollover, in that there was a huge amount of rollover. Basically, every org had 2.5 times their annual budget plus their annual budget. And so everyone felt really comfortable and very spendy. And it's getting to the, like, next year is kind of the tightening the belts year, unless we want to go bankrupt. So I'm sorry that you had to be the test case of that. It's kind of getting there, unfortunately. And it's a result, partially of the fact that our lock-in language is such that nothing adjusts for inflation. So all of our expenses go up by 3 to 5% each year with no income to match that. So without the student body upping our income, there's just like, it will need, like, we shrink a little bit each year, and that's
Yeah.
just a fact.
Without taking too much of your time, I know that you guys have a long meeting, I'm sure, ahead of you. But we also understand the deals with inflation. And that's something that we've discussed as a board, how we can do our events better, and given all the various restrictions. And yeah, that's what I just wanted to say.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. Just did? Wait, okay, all right. Bye, friends.
Thank you, guys.
We're still in session. Moving now into public forum. Jake? Jake, you have, wait, give me one moment.
But it's just public forum, so it's fine.
Jake, you have 2 minutes to speak with 1 minute for Q&A. Please announce safe for yelling. Please know this meeting is being recorded. You may speak on any issue that was on the agenda or not. Please include a contact warning for the graphic mail within once. You may choose not to answer questions. Do you agree?
Can I request an additional 2 minutes?
Senator Rupp,
Motion to grant the speaker an additional 2 minutes.
there's been a motion to grant the speaker an additional 2 minutes for a total of 4 minutes. Is there a second? Second by Yamishi. We'll have discussion.
Question.
I call the question. Jackson, call the question. Consent. Seeing none, motion passes. You may begin.
All right, hi, everybody, happy week 3, Jake from Calpert here again. Sorry for missing last week's session, I was out because Calpert was doing our quarterly kickoff, where we kick off all our campaigns, we get a bunch of new people, and we get things stopped with a bang. This quarter, we're running our 100% clean energy campaign, which you all should remember from our resolution. We're running our campaign to get plastic bags out of grocery stores here in California to help tackle our gigantic plastic waste problem. And we're working to increase protections for some of California's coastal oceans. So there's a lot of stuff happening this quarter, and we're super excited. Our campaigns are off to a great start. But one thing that has been taking up a bunch of time this past couple of weeks, which I'm super excited about, was our national lobby day, where we sent students from all across the state, from not just Calpert, but like Massachusettsburg and Georgiaburg and everything, out to DC and sort of lobby our national government, which is really cool. We had over 50 students from 10 states, 8 students from California, 2 of them from UCSB, which was me and our chapter chair, Sierra. And we went to a bunch of offices in Congress, House of Representatives, Senate, Biden's administration, like the EPA, Department of Ed, and FTC. And we're working on getting them to protect the environment, reduce food waste, and increase textbook affordability. You guys remember we talked about inclusive access a while ago. That was part of it, but also providing resources for free textbooks through an open education resources program, which we hope to expand throughout the nation. And we actually met with the House of Representatives guy for Santa Barbara, Representative Carvajal, I believe his name is. He is a former Gaucho, and he's actually co-sponsoring one of our favorite bills, which is to get plastic pellets out of our water systems, which right now it's totally legal to just dump these tiny plastic pellets in water systems. So we're working on getting that banned, and he's co-sponsoring it, which is really cool. And it kind of speaks to one of the core tenets of the student purge, right? Lobbying for the public interests as opposed to the special interests. Because, you know, these guys all day, they just hear from big corporations and people who are working to make sure that their bottom line is protected. And so it's really important to have a voice to young people and students to really push back the other way and advocate for the common interest. So that's something that was super cool, and I just got back from that yesterday. Moving forward, the next big thing is Earth Week. So you guys know Earth Day is coming up, but why stop at just today, right? We're gonna be doing stuff the whole week. We're planning to have events each day of Earth Week. Starting with on Sunday, we are going to be part of EAB's Earth Day Festival. Hope you guys are all gonna be there. It's at Anascoyo Park. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, from 1 to 5. But yeah, that should be super fun. We're gonna be tabling there, and I know that EAB has a bunch of awesome fun stuff planned, so you guys should all attend. And like always, email me at jake@ucsb.edu. I think I've emailed you guys before, so you can probably find it. But I'm open to collaborating on any and all of this stuff. And that's pretty much everything that I have, and I will be accepting questions.
Thank you, Jake. Floor is open. No questions today? Cool. Thanks, Jake.
All right, thanks, guys.
Probably take that.
I mean, this is. I guess, are there, oh, Diana. Like, it's fine if he wants to start, I'm just sure if I have a lot of questions. you can-
Yeah.
Let him see it.
All right, make it.
Okay, so we lost quorum. Could someone just grab a Brian from the hallway? I know he's in the hallway. Would you? That'd be great.
Thank you, Matt.
It's a quorum issue. I know he's having an important conversation. Nathan, do you want to come get set up while we fix that?
Yay. Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Benjamin, I sent the presentation to,
I think we're gonna wait until forum.
Yeah.
No, but I mean like, very public forum.
no.
No, this is not a public forum.
Yeah,
This is
oh,
a discussion of the bill. Should for some reason, like, what's the deal with that?
We should have introduced it first, but
Okay.
everything took a little longer than expected. He's got to go somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, we can go ahead and introduce it, yeah. No,
Oh, do you have the time?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, I think
Like,
leave.
I'm gonna leave in, you know, like.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Honestly, I prefer that. I don't.
Yeah, like, just wait and we'll wait for the forum.
Carlson.
I spoke to a Miss Juliana Carmen recently, finally met with her. Did she perhaps update your guys' office regarding the memorial project? How did that go? Anything?
What do you, I was told that, we can help plan a kickoff event.
Sweet.
Yeah, so, we're working on, in terms of coming up ideas of what that could look like.
Ah, awesome.
Is there more than that I should know?
We are doing just a lot. I asked Miss Carmen if, like, what she was kind of interested in and kind of. You don't need to take minutes on this.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay, bet. Oh, I think we're back in. So basically, we're just figuring things out one step at a time. And if we have areas, we have like free time or any days we want to plan programming events, we'd love to invite you into that.
Please, but
No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
50% plus one, we have 20, right? No, we have 19. We have 19?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was 12. For some reason, I thought it was 12.
My bad, I can't count.
I thought it was from Halloween.
My bad, I'm sorry.
Anyway, we're back.
They're gonna leave on my presentation.
Okay,
Sorry about that, Nathan.
Alright,
so then before you speak, well, I guess we'll have Alvin introduce the bill. So just so everyone's aware, I'm ripping us directly to new business to Alvin's bill because Nathan has a
our debt keepers here to answer questions.
Oh, actually, that's what we're doing. That's a good point. Well, we can do it wherever, right? So we're a new business. Floor is open. Someone please accept. Senator Zah.
Motion to accept all additions to the agenda as on the agenda.
Motion to accept all additions to the agenda as written on the agenda. Is there a second? Second by Senator Wayne. Non-discussion. I do Senator call question. Whoever made that? Did you one? No? Okay. Yeah, Senator Rattler.
I noticed a certain piece of the legislation hasn't been added to the agenda that currently stands. I replied all to the email agenda.
Okay, we can motion that on right after.
I
Why don't we just link it?
I mean, you can make motions whatever you want.
Can you just?
I already called the question objective. Yeah, I'll link it right now. Objection. An objection?
John, question.
Thank you. Senator Shaw, go before. Does it even have?
It's been sent to everyone.
Oh,
wait. Oh, wait.
Someone's not
Oh,
sending
you
mailing
only
list.
sent it to me. Okay, wait, give me a second. I'll send it separately. That's actually my fault. Wait, this is a doctor's office. Can I go to the original office?
Yeah, it's okay.
Can you give me like 30 seconds?
Is it like? I feel like it's. I want the actual.
I don't see it.
Last week, I can't stay after.
We could accept this.
Okay.
I think it would be most problem, Senator Johnson. I think it would be most problem if you rescinded and just restated the exact same motion.
We're still discussion on that.
Yeah, I would show my first motion as a motion to accept outdation to the agenda. A motion to accept our addition to the agenda as stated on the agenda.
Motion to accept all additions to the agenda as stated on the agenda. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Wang, we're not discussion.
all question.
I call the question, Jack, we call the question.
Consent.
By consent, addition, consent. Seeing none, motion passes. Okay, now, where are we at? A bill to establish Office of Student Advocate General Technology Subcommittee to the first. Senator Zah. You're the first, I thought it was Senator Wang.
Oh, God.
Who's the
No,
first?
it's,
It is Senator Wang.
Senator Zagal is on this bill. Okay, but I will, I guess, begin.
Oh, I read the motion.
So this bill is titled Bill to Establish Office of the Student Advocate General Technology Subcommittee. And this is honestly very exciting for me, but I'll separate this into, I guess, sort of three portions. First, I'll give a little bit of the intro, then we'll go into Nathan and potentially James' demo of this bill, and then we'll go into more implementation details after. So just as a little bit of broader context for the reason behind this bill, members of the CS community and more specifically, CS majors have been working on something called UCSB Coral for the past couple of months, more as a passion project to update the UCSB events website to provide a one-stop shop, if you will, for all events, for all RCOs and VCUs, and just make it like a really nice platform for all UCSB students to use. That in combination with something called Go Gaucho, which is an app that many UCSB students currently use to track their classes, track their schedules, get an idea of what the dining halls daily menus are like. And that's also been a passion project of UCSB engineers for the past several years. Now, the reason why this bill talks about both of those is because the current developer of UCSB Coral is in the post office, and the maintainers of Go Gaucho for the past several years has been more like a passion project of CS engineers, but now they're all graduating, so they do want to allow members of the Office of the Student Advocate to continue with the maintenance of this project. And to give you a better understanding of what Coral and Go Gaucho are, if you aren't really familiar with it, I'll now defer to Nathan to present on both of those. Sure.
To the second, Senator Yamanishi.
I yield to Nathan.
Sounds good.
Cool, maybe again.
All right, so hi, everyone, I'm Nathan, the Student Advocate General, although most of you don't know me at this point. I'm presenting on a project that our office has been working on during this entire school year. We started in the summer, or really the spring of last year. You guys might remember us for being the first high impact project. But that idea kind of as time change and sort of as our goals and ideas have changed, we have made a series of evolution, and ultimately we were able to get contact with Go Gaucho, and it has become this project what it is today. So could you thank you. So this project overview, kind of giving everyone sort of a history of both of the projects and the current functionality of both of the apps. To kind of go into a little bit of what Senator Wang said. There will not be a demo today. We will show all the functionality, but next, currently the Go Gaucho iOS app is fully online, and that's available for anyone to download on the App Store. And the Coral app, hopefully we will be able to come next week and give everyone a chance to use that as well through an application called Flag. So that way everyone can also not only use Go Gaucho on the phone, like currently on your phone, but also get a shot at Coral. So, but eventually those apps are designed to go together. And sort of go into. Can we go back to the previous slide? Thank you. So sort of we'll go through why it's a good idea for those two apps to not only exist as a benefit to UCSB students, but also to combine and how the Senate can help with our endeavor. Can we skip to the next slide? Thank you very much. And so a little history of Coral. So first, I would like to note the beautiful pink that is in the start launch page. And it started out as freefood.as.ucsb.edu as a preliminary idea I had, which is to provide location for UCSB students who events that have free food. That I thought that was the idea that will not only help the students' basic need, but also advertise events that either RCOs or campus administration departments and AS can throw on that has free food. And then it became events.ucsb.edu as a revamp project of a domain that we currently hold at the AS, which seeks to, by its name, to capture all events. However, we ran into some developmental difficulties with the platform that events.ucsb.edu is on. That a lot of our functionality just simply cannot be implemented. So we, with the help of the Department of Student Life and Student Affairs, as well as one of the course at the Computer Science Department, we were able to work on Coral with this mission to connect, collaborate, and create. And which ultimate goal is serving gotchas. Can we go to the next slide? So this is a basic, I would say, component to like sort of the functionality of Coral right now. So the left side is that once you log into Coral, you are able to your courses through your perm number and net ID. You will automatically load up your courses that you currently have. And then it will have once you click open chat, it will go to the second page list over there. That will have what that is that it's like a group chat that's available for all of the students who are in those courses. So students can ask for help and do whatever it is. Maybe they want to start a collaborative study session without the involvement of necessarily instructors or administrator of the course. And if you click on if you can see on the bottom of the bar, there's a dining option. You cannot click on it. It doesn't. That's just a screenshot, but that will load up like sort of the dining menus of like each of our dining halls, and as well as like specifically like what day, and you can also adjust from what day and what time those food become available. You can also set a reminder to your phone on whenever a dish, let's say you like, let's say chicken tacos. They will send you, the app will send you a reminder when that item is served in any of those dining halls. So, you can go to them. And then once you go on to the events tab, it will just kind of pop up with a feed of the events coming up on campus. Where the list of the events are currently we currently only have events that are on campus calendar, which is a website that captures all the athletic as well as arts and lecture events on campus. As well as some departments that selectively reports them, but they're not required to. Some departments report them, most of them don't. So that is sort of the current feed. If we can go to the next slide. Thank you very much. And then so if you click on any of those events that interest you, there will be a more specific function as to what it is about. And those are all from the campus calendar website. And there is the option to add to a calendar, as you can see in the middle of the middle picture that says University of California, Santa Barbara versus Long Beach State, Blue Sharks. So that Sharks is the mascot of the Long Beach State. Anyways. So you can add to calendar there, so that will put on your Google Calendar. So this will be recorded into Google Calendar. And then if you look on the picture on the left again, there is a add button. Once you click on it, it will take you to the third picture, to the right. That will says there have a upload image button, there's title, like what the event is, when is it, location, where would it be, room number, and the optional description. There can be, that's currently what we have, but we can always add more. Ideally, this will be, we would invite, all the campus departments, all the, what is currently on events calendar, and AS as well as RCOs to come and add to this event list, so it can become a hub for all on-campus events. And so students can have a one-stop shop in terms of being engaged to our on-campus life. If we can go to the next slide. So this is, so now we move away from Portal, where we come to Go Gaucho. Go Gaucho is a app that is web app, started off as a web app, now it is also a iOS app that is launched in 2016. It is the oldest active UCSD student utility app, and it has a very active user base. About 5,000 students currently use it, and its mission, just like Portal, is to serve gauchos. And you can see a sort of a helpful picture of sort of a that's not all the functions that Go Gaucho has, but it is a lot of it. There's an option again to similar to Portal. You can log in with your perm and your net ID. It will load up your schedule, and there's math, dining, like the courses specifically. There are some course analytics material and building capacity that will come up. Sure, yeah.
Have you had an opportunity of looking at what the building capacity means in this case? It caught my eye.
It's referring to the capacity of the libraries. There's an API that you can access through there, where you can view how full like each floor is.
Fascinating, thank you. All right.
How fill the library is. Okay, wonderful. Okay, can we go to the next page? And here to just kind of demonstrate a little bit of what this is on the phone. So there is about the specific functionality that's currently available. If you look on the left, that is schedule was someone who's dumb enough to take 26 units. And the second tab is a map of UCSD. There are specific, once you click on or search which of the buildings you're looking for, you can have a detailed floor map of what each floor, like what each rooms are at. There's even a location button that can help you guide you to the room. Senator Collins?
I want to jump in, specifically asking the three of you. I've built apps, you're not being paid right now, right? No. It's just like a passion project, like this is.
Yes. See, exactly, like this is.
Do you have an estimate how many hours between the three of you put into this? Or like a GitHub with a number of issues or something?
Portal has an open source GitHub, yes. We just began this collaboration project, so I have not looked at Go Gaucho, but Portal probably. Like there is a rather larger team. It's probably there are issues, but it's probably some 300, maybe 500, 600 hours through like generations of through like 2 generations of developers. But yeah, and then Go Gaucho has been developed since like 2016. So yeah.
I like it. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Yes, planning like so many hours has been put into those things, and it's really, I think, one of the most impressive projects that ever come out of UCSD. Anyways, once you go into the third tab, there's academic calendar, all the relevant links that kind of talks about settings, of course, and then the goes into the first page, and then that is sort of campus dining and all the library building capacity stuff, and there's also a camera that you can look at the dining hall lines and stuff. Yeah, so we can go to the next page. then, as you can see, there are a lot of overlap similarities between those two apps. Both of them displays student schedules, both of them displays dining hall options, both has, both of them are like very, I'll say somewhat focusing on helping students with like scheduling and planning. But what's special about, there are also obviously different features other than the corresponding ones. There's the library status on GoGaucho, and there's like the course chat on Coral. But you know, as the GoGaucho is a much more mature and well-developed app throughout the years, there's just other functions. You know, we cannot even begin to list them. Just the mapping is just beautiful. And then but then like this common mission is to serve gauchos. And so, you know, after we were working on Coral, and then you know, Jackson and Daniel kind of got together and thinking, hey, maybe we could put Coral and GoGaucho together to make it into the same app in the future, and it will, and then to be managed by the Office of Student Advocate in the future. So it will continually to prosper as a project for the university. We can go to the next slide. You know, as Senator Wong previously said, the GoGaucho team are all graduating this year. So you know, they're looking to bring this project to AS and to OSA more specifically. And so the sort of the combination will bring so many benefits, the collaboration between GoGaucho, Coral, and just AS in general. Bringing this app to AS will bring so much benefits to the community, connect, collaborate, create, you know, students to engage more with the community, and aggregate all on-campus events to UCSB. Aggregate all on-campus events for the UCSB community. So students will have a one-stop shop and looking at to find AS events, to find campus events, to find RCO events. And we can also advertise in current and future AS initiatives. I think as an officer has been in AS for about 3 years now, I definitely see a problem where like a lot of AS events are put on, but are only a very small group of students are knowledgeable of them. So like sort of, you know, you go to a town hall or something, you sometimes see very similar faces. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that we could do a better job at reaching to students who might not have as much of a high information about what the work of AS, and they also pay for it. Which is only right and just that they hear about our initiative and our projects and our events as well. So hopefully we can reach all UCSD students through this platform, and then connect students even without orgs. What I mean by that is that one of the more intentional purposes that we put in through the events organizing web page is that we wanted to make sure that all UCSD students have a right to put up an event. Like to put something onto the events calendar, and not just like through a university approved, organization approved structure. You know, a good example I like to give to Katya is Katya Armistead, is that I want a UCSD student who wants to host a volleyball game to be able to put up something there and say, hey, me and some of my friends are going to a volleyball game, want to play volleyball, feel free to join us. And then like a organic group of students will come together and they'll become friends. I think, you know, to be able to reach students who are not so involved with organizations, without, you know, to societies, I think those are just so important, because oftentimes I think it is students who just happen to without resource and are the ones that are least well connected. And through this platform, students can become more connected. And uphold financial policy. What I mean by that is that currently in financial policy, all the student works who are RCOs or SEALs works who receive our funding for event they're required to put up their events on events.ucsd.edu. Currently, that is not happening, or not even close. And I think the purpose of that financial policy, as my own interpretation, is to fully actualize the goal that AS events, events are funded by AS is free for all and open for all. And it is not necessarily a good way to make that work and make that promise actualize if, let's say we grant someone money and they will just internally advertise and, only the students who are in that in-group are benefiting. So yeah, that will be something that we will hopefully to do, to actually actualize the goal that AS funded events are free to all students, open and truly open to all students. And finally, and probably the most importantly, in my opinion, is to preserve all the finest UCSD undergraduate projects. Like generation of students since 2016 have been just working so hard on Coral, not on Coral, on Go Gaucho, and people in our office have been working hard on Coral, and to combine them together, I think will be, and with the added information access and event resources from AS will be truly the best thing we can do for this project going forward, and for the students who currently enjoy the service of Go Gaucho. Can we go to the next slide? So how the Senate can help us? Join Senator Wong and Senator Yamanuchi in passing the bill to establish an Office Student Advocate General Technology Subcommittee. So this will fully bring in the team at Go Gaucho and students who have been working on both Coral and Go Gaucho into a position into the associated students that they would. So they will not only be paid, but also have the privilege, have information and collaboration with associated students. So more BCU at AS can use, BCU at AS will be able to upload their events, and we can also help with other developmental needs at the OSA office, as we are constantly reaching out, we're constantly facilitating dialogue between students and faculty, or just between students. I think just have that gift of technology and people who are capable of developing those projects will really help OSA to kind of reach out further their efforts to students. For one example I can give is that although we do receive a good amount of casework caseload every single week, but I truly felt the difference of information being an obstacle for students between the students who have the resource and students who don't have the resources. That we made an announcement right after Deltopia for students who needs our help to receive help, like to advertise our services. And that week, just the week after Deltopia, before we send out the email, we have received 0 cases, but after that Tuesday, when we send out that email, we received, just within 2 days, we received 19 cases. So that is a strong, just evidence of how much information and I would say, especially digital information in the modern age will help OSA to continue doing its good work. And I think this will be a good substantial part in helping the Office Student Advocate to further outreach through digital technology and through through continual outreach. And we also would like senators who are involved in BCUs, in different RCOs and others, and to other students that they know to advertise and use Go Gaucho currently, but in the future to hopefully to the updated Go Gaucho. Next page. Thank you so much. That's our presentation. We'll be taking questions.
Cool, thanks, Nathan. What's up, Senator Rowe?
Nathan, this looks so amazing. Thank you to you and your team. Super well formed and great presentation. I have one personal question. I had Go Gaucho last year and I thought it got decommissioned and was turned into like a website that you had to like link, was that a thing? Cause I deleted it after that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, there were some issues with that. It's been resolved now. It's back on the App Store. We do that. Yeah.
Sarah?
that's awesome. And then one more thing, I love the idea of having like the public have the ability to post events on their own on the app. I think that sounds really great, and we'd probably get like a much wider variety of people posting things.
Yeah.
Do you have any plan for like limiting spam in general there? I just can imagine that there would be like an event that someone didn't really like and like started posting a bunch of like fake event kind of things.
Yeah, I can answer that question. So, yeah, we thought a lot about like this moderation issue, just moderation in general, because we can also post like, untrue information and stuff. Well, like we have like permanent, like we have like access to like student, like very limited amount of student information, but you do need to log in order to post any event. So, and then like, I think there are like existing, like open source features for like pretty rudimentary like information that is like rather mature and like wouldn't be too hard to implement. But I think the most important thing is just like we can like you know, like we can basically track them down if, you know, somebody posted you know, some, you know, spam or untrue information. And then, you know, and if, you know, this app is incorporated as like part of the proper AS structure, there's like a number of things we could do to them, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, we can also probably have like a filter list between like that showing like student post events and then have a warning that like, oh, it's like other students post about these events. These aren't like on the AS doors.
Carlson and Schultz?
Part of, no, I just want to say thank you.
Okay. Part of me is thinking that upon integration of some type of program like this into some, whether it be AS, UCSB, infrastructure, anything, we might definitely be able to collaborate with the university to bring in multi-factor authentication, verification of identity, login credentials, et cetera, where we can use the proper channels to actually verify the users. And that would actually help cement this type of thing further down the line. And that might be a next steps type of idea upon integration under the ASUCSB flagship type of thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's something that you guys are considering.
Yeah, we already do have like a login or person, like a verification mechanism through the fact by the virtue that we have to access student information through like the schedule. So once, you know, we can pull up your schedule, you know, by definition, like students will have to log in with their PERM number, with their student ID. So in some sense, it's like once a student log in, like it has become in de facto like a closed community. I don't know if I understand your question or I'm not understanding it properly.
I'll follow up and then, wait, Senator, do you want to answer first?
Yes, I wanted to answer Senator Carlson's question. So to that point, right now, the way GoGacha works is you put in your UCSB email. Every UCSB student has their UCSB email. When you put that in, then it accesses your schedule. You don't need to go through the pro ID or your pro number or access number, whatever that is. You just need your UCSB email and your schedule, and that's it.
Right, that's right.
Senator Carlson and Michelle.
The only thing I'm thinking of is that it prompts you with like duo push, right? And what I'm wondering is down the line, if integrating this type of program or website or app into our kind of infrastructure, will that bring with it UCSB protection, like encryption, verification of identity, things like that, so that it can be guaranteed only students, so we don't have to worry about phishing, we don't have to worry about all that stuff, because that's the last thing a student should have to worry about on an app that they're using, right?
When you want to answer those?
Please. So when you type in, when you log into an app like GoGacha, you get navigated to something called like a Google authentication. And a lot of apps have Google authentication. And once you put in .ucsb.edu at the end of the email, what happens is it takes you to the UCSB login website where it has a big picture of UCSB, your username and your password. So that part would, because it already takes you to the UCSB login.
Sure, thank you.
Quick comment from Senator Zod and then, I'm sorry.
Thanks so much for bringing this amazing project to life. I want to congratulate you and your team on all of your hard efforts. I think it's important for us to give our feedback to this project However, we do have a lot of things on the agenda, so I'm asking my colleagues, unless you feel that it's really important for everyone to discuss, to send those feedbacks to the team privately. That's all I'm saying.
So looks great, and I'm in favor of this. I have kind of two separate questions, both of the same nature. So the first thing is that this is a good project, and while I haven't read the code base, just looking at how many features you've developed without any user testing gives me an implication that you guys are doing a fairly good job. And I'm pretty concerned about incorporating this project into AS and UCSB, because the bureaucracy of AS and UCSB will crush every bit of creative freedom and soul that could possibly be in this project over time. It would be fine this year and it'll be fine next year, but check in 5 years from now and check the blow. That's one question. The other question, I mean, not a question, just a comment. And I wonder if maybe, and again, I'm in agreement with this iteration here. And the reason I'm in agreement here is because since Senator Wang is running unopposed, we know where this project will be, in whose hands it'll be next year. It doesn't seem at all obvious to me that, like, as a long-term policy decision, the Office of the Student Advocate makes any sense here as the supervising over umbrella. Again, I agree with it for now, but I'd like to kind of submit that maybe the best course is over the course of next year to figure out a better place for the project to live. The funding and other kind of support that AS can provide are important, but bureaucracies run by non-technical people are the worst form of engineering management. And this is a bureaucracy run not only by non-technical people, but non-technical people who aren't qualified in anything at all, not to mention engineering. And that poses a significant risk to the project's longevity. I also sense that trying to integrate closely with the university will lead to problems. So I think that integrating with AS without integrating with the university is probably the way to go. Obviously, there are APIs and stuff that you like I have to access, but whatever, fine. Like that's all already being done. I guess, yeah, I'm kind of speaking mostly to you when I say, yeah, when I say, can we, I'm good with this for now, but can we work on where this needs to live permanently? Because it doesn't seem at all obvious to me. Like, it just so happens that the SAG cares about this project, but what about 10 years from now?
Senator White, we do have to go to recess in 1 minute, by law, but you can talk about it during recess, maybe?
Then let's just go to recess.
Okay. Close open, Senator Dodd.
The motion to move into a 15-minute recess until 9:40
There's been
p.m.
a motion to enter a 15-minute recess until 9:50 p.m. Is there a second? Second by Young Leash. We're on discussion. I call the question. Just to call the question.
Consent.
Consent. Seeing none. Motion passed. Did you have API access, or are you still like scraping?
We got it.
You got it. Okay.
Some of
I might have to act.
Yeah. Okay. But I still can't. Like again, I can say you're showing. Okay. Yeah. For the agenda.
Just like when it's-
Okay, okay.
Can you break it down, like, whatever.
Election.
Guys, you guys want anything?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, somebody called me a question. We're not gonna go out. Will you be second for him?
Probably not.
You can't, but he.
Michelle, you want to kick it?
He always wants to, so I'll ask him.
Yes, that's fire.
Any texts today? Like 17. And I have your signature on it, but I just approved it, I think city email.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to solve this. I don't know, I literally have been dropping balls so long. I kind of like, I was in it and for the whichever one versus rank, and then I got that. So I just kind of went like, all right, I'm only gonna look at memorial for that, even that. I know. We need to fill. Because the emails, right, like asking for a ball. So it's the online. I feel like.
On Friday. we can send-
Just say like.
Where
are you going? I'm going, my friend's not. Oh, yeah. It's, what it is, it's like, I guess, I don't say. I will do that.
If we do it right.
Yeah, we were. So. Like, I think this year.
Problem is like AS is.
But I just don't see like we have like technology, which.
Yeah.
I mean, just more like. Way more efficient installation. And.
Senator Yamishi.
Said it perfectly. I yield.
Senator
Do they have money for the honorarium for these? Are they like planning on appointing them? And do they have the money for the honoraria already in their budget?
Senator.
So these members wouldn't be appointed this year, they would be appointed next year, so this is an amendment for next year. And we haven't approved any sort of budget for them for next year, so I think this would have to be factored into our decision in regards to how much money we allocate to EAP.
Nonetheless, I do think it would be proper to list a fiscal impact on legislation of this nature in the future. Since it's being tabled regardless, could you please add the fiscal impact? Great. And I am concerned about the nature of this legislation acting to dismiss the two current publicity and record keeping chairs. There's no continuity clause. And there's nothing that actually states that those positions wouldn't be added until the end of this year. So all of those points should probably be addressed in the legislation before it's passed.
If it's comfortable with the chairs, motion to table a bill to amend environmental affairs board legal code.
The motion to table a bill to amend the environmental affairs board legal code, Senator Rowe,
Second.
second by Senator Carroll, and discussion.
Objection.
No,
Since no objection.
Objection.
it's been an objection.
Rescind my motion.
You rescind your motion, okay. Motion rescinded. Senator Rowe,
Motion to table a bill to amend the environmental affairs board legal code for 1 week.
there's been a motion to amend table. Excuse me. There's a motion to table a bill to amend environmental affairs board legal code for 1 week. By Senator Rowe. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Carlson. We're now in discussion. Your call question, objection, call the question?
Consent.
Is there objection, consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay. Next, moving into a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resolutions, which I'll invite you to speak on jointly. Senator Shaw.
Thank you. So this project was actually brought out by the executive director. She mentioned that there are presidents of us at the Senate, as a representative of the association, to stand up and say thank you to those who help us a lot. And those resolutions are direct product of that. I want to thank you, Senator Carson, Senator Wang, and again, Senator Gabrielson for their gracious support of the project. And of course, my deepest thank you to all those who have contributed to the association. They are Cindy Lopez, Ed Strutz, Julian Plastro, Kelsey Timbaju, Marilyn Duke, and Bruce Garcia Ruiz. So, yeah, my thank you to them all.
Thank you, Senator Jacques. To the second, Senator Wang, to speak on all 5 pieces of legislation.
I was under the impression that there were 6.
Yeah.
I did not end up actually moving that down, excuse me. Give me 1 moment. But yes, to those 6, please.
Well, thank you so much, Ming-Jing, Senator Shaw for his work on these resolutions, and he said it very beautifully. I would like to point out that when I was looking through every single one of these resolutions, on average, every single one of these members have served around 15 years in associated students. And 15 years is 15 years ago, I was in I was 4. So I just want to point out that 15 years is a really long time to be anywhere, much less associate students. And most of us will only be here in associate students for a year, 2 years. But 15 years, that's long. And thank you so much once again to every single one of these retirees, and wish them all the best in their future ventures.
To the third, Senator Carlson.
I will yield to the first and second. Thank you so much for your service.
I'll just add one more thing. The executive director she's not only brought up this idea, but in the whole process, she was with us. She talked with me about her personal anecdote with those retirees. That's how we're able to add a touch of individuality and humanity into it. And she found us all the information we need. So thank you. That's my guidance. Yeah.
With the consent of the Senate, actually, I'd like to invite the executive director to speak if you'd like on this topic for as long as you like.
Sure, thank you. I think recognition and thank yous basically, really changed literally our brains. Meaning having gratitude for each other and gratitude for any and all considerations really makes a great deal of difference. And so for me to be able to serve for you all since 2007, it's thanks to all of those folks. So really, all of us stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. And those folks literally leave a legacy behind. And we spend a lot of time being very critical and so on, which is, what we're here for. But it's also really, really important to be great. And so really thank you all for issuing these. And I'd like to also send them these resolutions with maybe a card or something from you all. That would be really appreciated. Thank you.
I'd also like to draw attention to the fact that while I have been grouping them for the purposes of kind of trying to move relatively quickly, I do want to point out that they're all unique and they all say specific things about these people. They're not just, people's names. So if you haven't had a chance to read them, please do. I also prepped a motion. You can see it at the bottom of the agenda. It's kind of technical, but if someone would make that, I'd appreciate it. With that, open to motions, and these motions should be made separately on each of these resolutions. So if people want to work on that. Senator Rowe.
Motion to pass a resolution honoring Ruth Garcia Rivera's service to the Associated Students.
There's been a motion to pass the resolution honoring Ruth Garcia Rivera's service to the Associated Students, second by Senator Yamanisha. No discussion.
Call the
Here,
question.
call questions or objection, call the question. Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Rowe.
Motion to pass a resolution honoring Cindy Lopez's service to the Associated Students.
There's been a motion to pass a resolution honoring Cindy Lopez's service to the Associated Students. Senator Rowe, second by Senator Yamanisha. No discussion.
Call the question.
Here, call questions or objection, call the question. Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Rowe.
Motion to pass a resolution honoring Ed Schatz's service to the Associated Students.
There's been a motion to pass a resolution honoring Ed Schatz's service to the Associated Students by Senator Rowe, second by Senator Yamanisha. No discussion.
Call the question.
Here, call the questions, objection, call the question. Is
Consent.
there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Carlson.
Motion to pass a resolution honoring Judy Ann Plaxico's service to the Associated Students.
There's been a motion to pass a resolution honoring Judy Ann Plaxico's service to the Associated Students, seconded by Senator Shaw. We're not discussion.
Call question.
I hear call question. Is there objection to call question?
Consent.
Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Folk.
Motion to pass a resolution honoring Kelsey Doe's service to the Associated Students.
There's been a motion to pass a resolution honoring Kelsey Thibodeau's service to the Associated Students by Senator Folk. No discussion.
Second.
Second by Senator Rowe. Sorry, we're now in discussion.
Call the question.
I can call the question. Is there objection to call the question?
Consent.
Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Rowe.
Motion to pass a resolution honoring Marilyn Duke's service to the Associated Students.
There's been a motion to pass a resolution honoring Marion Duke's service to the Associated Students by Senator Rowe, seconded by Senator Carlson. No discussion.
Call the question.
Here, call the question. Is there objection to call the question?
Consent.
Objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Yamiche.
Motion to enter the following footnote into the record. Nicole Gabrielson is no longer a senator. However, she was instrumental in the development of these resolutions.
There's been a motion to enter the following footnote into the record. Nicole Gabrielson is no longer a senator. However, she was instrumental in the development of these resolutions. Senator Yamanishi.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Folk. No discussion.
Call the question.
Here, call the question. Is there objection to call the question?
Consent.
Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to a resolution to form a committee to investigate the events of the 410 Senate meeting. If it's okay with everyone, I will pass over the chairship just so that for the purpose, because I'm the second on this resolution, I don't think it's fair for me to preside over its discussion. So with that, I yield the chairship for the duration of the discussion on a resolution to form a committee to investigate the events of the 410 Senate meeting.
For the first, Senator Adler.
Yeah, just to preface, I think the fact that Senator Sholonoff and I are often this bill together should illustrate the severity and magnitude of the issues we're looking into. You all were here, most of you were here for last week. It was embarrassing, it was unorganized, it was disjointed, it negatively affected our reputation. It impeded our ability to carry out the democratic process in a fair, visible way. And I think fundamentally we're just owed an explanation. We're owed transparency and accountability from our administration as to how this could have gotten to this point. I know Dr. Marquez and the IVP, who is not with us anymore, they both provided as much insight as they could on the day of. And I just am lacking clarity as to the specificities of the safety concerns that were mentioned, because as far as I can tell, anybody can bring up a concern of safety or discomfort, and then all of a sudden we go online. So I just feel like that's a bad precedent to set, and especially, I mean, I don't know, in this era we're in, I'm not sure if you guys saw, like 2 days ago, like the USC valedictorian was prohibited from speaking. Like, can you guess why she was prohibited from speaking? Safety concerns, right? So like, it's just a really bad precedent I think we're going down, and I think we're just fundamentally owed the full accounting from administration as to how this could have happened when we knew the spring competition was going to be there for weeks. This was before spring break. Like, the fact that a comprehensive safety plan couldn't be reached for weeks is disconcerting. And as you can see in the specificities of this bill, I'm interested personally in understanding how the Title VI investigation that UCSB is currently contending with, if that affected the decision to go online whatsoever. I think it's very much worth looking into. And I'll preface this isn't antagonistic, this isn't accusatory, this is just straight up demanding transparency. It's our safety that was concerned. So fundamentally, if there's a credible threat to safety, we deserve to know, and we need to know if we're going to function correctly. So, you.
To the second, Senator Sean.
Thank you, Senator Adler. Yeah, I think I couldn't agree more. And I think it's very important that not only do we conduct an investigation of our own to figure out what exactly happened, but also kind of take note of the ability for that kind of term to be leveraged to, restrict our ability to meet. I think it's very important that because our meetings are in person, as that's the standard, and only under exceptional circumstances do we go online, it should be our own decision to go online. And there's a necessary kind of chicken and the egg thing here. I said this twice this meeting, actually, which is strange, but which is that we can't meet to formally decide to meet online if we're going to meet online. And this kind of sounds like we need to figure out a process for this. And while we didn't write it into the charge of the committee, that could be also something that this committee could take a look at, is what kind of process would better be used to determine whether or not the Senate meets in person or whatever. But yeah, I think this is a good start. I'm just checking the legal code as to whether, like, who makes appointments to temporary committees, whether it's the presiding officer of the Senate or the IVP, but I'll probably just not, regardless, I'm just gonna not, so that there's no question. But yeah, cool. That's me. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Sholnoff. Floor is open. Senator Lebowski.
I would just like to say thank you for doing this. I think that it also shows how important this is, as during the discussion and debate last week, both of you were on different spectrums of opinions. And I think that coming together to understand and have this type of transparency for all of us is really crucial. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lebowski. Senator Sholnoff.
That reminded me, I think it would be appropriate to take a moment to enter into the record officially, kind of what was on our end in person, of the group of senators that it come to have an in-person meeting, including the fact that there was a majority of the Senate in person ready to meet, and there was a quorum. And when senators arrived to Corin Pavilion, it was still open and there was staff there setting it up. And then that staff received a phone call from their supervisor who told them that the reservation had been canceled. And when I spoke to that supervisor, he screamed and swore at me on the phone, which indicates a really profound breakdown of the relationship between AS and the University Center, which is largely our fault for pushing them back and forth so often, but also something that we could look into as a motivating factor here to what led to this deal.
Thank you, Senator Sholnoff. Floor is open. Senator Martinez.
Yeah, I'd also like to say thank you, because like, as I wasn't one of the ones who was like initially there. I was home making dinner because I thought I was home free. But like, you know, that's the thing is it's like very frustrating to like not be able to even know, is your job in person, is your job online, like what exactly am I supposed to be doing? You know, I had to like pick up and leave, so I can only imagine like how frustrating that is for people who are in the audience. They're not getting as much like communication as we are. So I think that it's definitely very important to get that clarity for not only us, but for the student body, because it was like, when did we even start that meeting?
8:30.
Yeah, so that was a 2 hours of time that was wasted of like students, so I thank you guys for getting that.
Thank you, Senator Martinez. Senator Fultz.
Yeah, furthermore, there were a lot of candidates who needed to attend the Senate meeting who were very confused about where the location was, and then I know that the chair had to make some accommodations for that, so that's definitely an unprofessional look.
Thank you, Senator Fultz. Floor is open. Senator Yamanishi.
Motion to pass a resolution to form a committee to investigate the events of the 410 Senate meeting.
There's been a motion to pass a resolution to form a committee to investigate the events of the 410 Senate meeting.
Second.
There's second. Do I hear call the question? I hear call the question. Is there consent? And is there objection to consent? Seeing none, motion passes. Okay, I yield the chairship back to Chair Schulman.
Okay, moving on past public forum, which has already been completed twice. Acceptance of the agenda, clear consent calendar, clear action items, cost of funding. Oh, I understand.
Point
Yes.
of order.
Senator.
The things that happened over email vote then, are we just completely disregarding them, like the things that we voted on, because COSWEB funding was one of those.
Point of order, we just need one person here to. Oh, wait, someone said that.
So, okay, I'll clarify. My interpretation, and I'll say this loudly enough that it ends up clearly on the minutes, which is my interpretation is that because that did not reach quorum, and because it included in itself an adjournment at a particular time, which has already passed, even if it reached quorum now, it would be invalid. So I don't know whether anyone, like another person went and filled it out, but it feels irrelevant to me, which is why we have in orange here the additional things to discuss. I'm gonna skip past the ballot action items to allow the press to stay with us until the end, because we're gonna go into closed session for those portions, but I want to, okay. I'm going to treat the following motions as written motions that I received, so I'm gonna read them as written motions. There's been a motion to pass $1,120.33 for Dodkin Spring Knuckle Dwayne event from Spring Seal Fund. The spring. What? From Spring Quarter what's it called? Seal Spring Quarter, excuse me. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can you restate what you just said, the logic about why we're going item by item so that the Senate can vote on each item because we did not have one. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'll restate that.
Okay.
So these are motions that the IVP received from various senators to place onto the email vote. Though that email vote did not reach quorum, so we're revisiting the same exact topics. So this is we have not yet approved any of these motions. Because I've already received them in writing, I'm treating them as written motions. Are there any questions about the process that we're engaged in? Fantastic. There's been a motion to pass $1,120.33 for Dodkin Spring event from Seal Spring Quarter Fund according to the attached budget breakdown. It was attached on the email vote. I'm going to treat that as good faith error and fix the attachment later, assuming everyone had a chance to review that. By Senator Wang, seconded by Senator Shaw. We're now discussion.
Call the question.
Here, call the question. Is there objection to call the question?
Consent.
Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, the motion passes. There's been a motion to transfer via journal entry $5,500 from the Senate unallocated to the AS Commission on Student Wellbeing account 338 COSWEB additional funds by Senator Rowe. Somebody else needs a second. That was the second. Senator Yamanishi. Second by Senator Yamanishi. We're not discussion. Here, call the question. Before I ask for objection to call the question, we are talking about taking $5,500 out of center allocated and putting it in someone else's account. So are we sure we don't discuss this at all? Is it fine with everyone? Senator Rowe? You want it would be appropriate for you to object.
Object.
I rescind my previous motion.
All right, a motion was rescinded. Senator Carlson.
Sorry, guys, for causing such a headache. To be totally transparent, that was me that didn't reply to that email. Yeah, literally. But what I am wondering is like, what is the necessary like request that's being made of Senate unallocated for COSWEB to be asking for $5,500? And then that's my main question, and then just kind of agency.
Senator Rowe.
Would have been great to look at the comprehensive breakdown I provided over the email vote, but give me like 30 seconds to find that document. So I can put it into the minutes, but it's essentially like COSWEB has requested almost $25,000 more than their budget allocation this past year, so they're like out of money right now. They don't have like zero, they'll be fine, but like to carry on with their regular programming, which includes like dog therapy days, finals essentials tabling, which is like $800 event, they need a little bit more just to get them through the end of the year. Just give me like 30 seconds and I'll tap that and you guys can review it and let me know what you
And I would accept the motion to censure Senator Carlson.
I'm just gonna, okay, you should have it now, if everybody wants to go take a look, please.
I'll take a look.
It's very comprehensive.
Okay, we're still at order. Senator Carlson.
While I'm reviewing, forgive me. How many of our orgs buy final preparedness stuff? How much money do we spend on that?
Senator Rowe.
It's about like 4 to 5 every quarter, depending on who decides to participate, but I wanna say like, it is genuinely probably the best use of AS funds, aside from like the other orgs that host like widely publicized events, but it's literally like the happiest I've ever seen students at any AS function. They come up and they're like, oh my God, this is just free, I don't have to do anything, and it's like kind of the best thing. So I'm not really bothered, they could spend like $10,000 in my mind and it would be worth it, so.
Okay. Senator Carlson.
Hate, how much money are we gonna have left over? Question mark.
$123,000.
Does that include him?
Yeah. If the Senate will accept my opinion, I think this is a great recommendation. Sorry, Senator Martinez.
I was just gonna say, I agree, like, I looked through the like list when it was sent out over email, it looks wonderful, I love COSWEB's, like, work, and I think that the students do too, so. This is a good use of money.
I was gonna say something here, so you should just let go.
Senator Muskie. Motions for discussion. Senator Rowe.
Senator Carlson, do you have any notes, any additions, or are you comfortable with me making the motion?
I'm good.
Senator Rowe.
Motion to transfer via journal entry $5,500 from Senate unallocated to the AS Commission on Student Wellbeing, account 338, COSWEB additional.
It's been a motion to transfer via journal entry $5,500 from Senate allocated to the AS Commission on Student Wellbeing, account 338, cost of additional funds, second by Senator Lubasky, no discussion.
Call question.
Call questions or objection to call question? Here consent is there objection to consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, that concludes that portion. I'm going to skip to the action item winter 24 honoraria final public. Actually, we're just gonna write an action item in here, winter 24 honoraria, excuse me. You should all see a honoraria spreadsheet. The relevant motions would be to modify or accept that spreadsheet. Senator Ray.
If I could just speak on this for 1 second. We essentially made like very little cuts based on like what people have responded this time. Because Dr. Marquez had recommended to me that we follow the guidelines listed in the legal code more closely for the honorary committee's processes and how they decide like cuts to people's honoraria. And it's like truly impossible. So the correct method of action would be that we fix that and not like make up our own on the spot, which I appreciate the recommendation. And so anything that we did do, anything that you see as like a discrepancy in the request is because likely, obviously, this was like a closed session meeting and this is just the public version, but like either a chair recommended it that way, or it's been like the precedent set forth like well documented in history. So like, for example, for the summer requests that are retroactive, we award 1/3 for the amount just because operations are like largely virtual. And there are just like less events in general. So I just wanted to give that kind of note. I don't think that there's anything like really to contest here, but obviously like if there's conversations, we can do that in a closed session.
Senator Carroll.
I just have a quick question. So the Ivy Arts Church, when she applied, but she's like nowhere on this spreadsheet. If she's not on the spreadsheet, I'm just going to assume she didn't apply and she's fine for retroactive.
Senator.
Yeah, that would be a good assumption. I know that in the past, we have had students, who for some reason did not end up on the honoraria spreadsheet due to some like clerical discrepancy. Like there's no malintent at all. It just like happens sometimes. And so that would be a good assumption. And if they want to apply for retroactive, speaking of, I want to go back and make sure, because I know that I had a few emails from people who like, for some reason, their name was never showing up on any of our spreadsheets. Just give me a minute.
Thank you.
So, provide some insight as well. The relative difference between this honoraria package and last honoraria package is, in this honoraria package, we cut less than 1% of the request, whereas in the last honoraria package, we cut about 17% of the request. So we're spending about $106,000 on this expense this time around. And that comes out of the relevant accounts for honoraria. And I'd echo Senator Rowe's comment that we do need a process, because at present, it's almost impossible to award fair honorarium. Okay. Yes.
There was like an email of a student whose honorarium had never been addressed. I'm just now remembering about it. It was like an admin error and it never ended up on our spreadsheet last quarter. You can give me like 30 seconds to.
And we're in discussion about the honorarium. If anyone has any comments, questions, suggestions. Sorry.
No, I already have the principal things.
That's not very.
Yeah, very nice.
All signed. Can I see?
Yes, yes.
It's my favorite part of the whole job. Except it doesn't, it's not temporal, it's temporal. I made the same mistake last time.
Years old.
What is today's date? Yes, Senator Karen.
What's the estimated time frame for which students can expect to receive their honorary?
Are you asking me?
If anyone knows? I don't know.
Senator John.
Yes, so if I can get the signature of the IVP tonight. Just because I forgot to ask for it before he left. I'll say, depends on how long school will run about eligibility check, but about 3 to 4 weeks, I'll say.
Thank you.
God bless your heart, Minky.
We're in discussion. If you'd like to say anything about the honoraria, now would be a great time to do this.
Yeah.
Senator.
100,000 out of a budget of like almost 18 mil. Isn't that bad per quarter? You know what I mean? Well, right? Isn't that the idea?
I think an appropriate way to think of it is that the quarterly budget for honoraria paying accounts is about $1.5 to $2 million. So,
I don't know.
it's not quite as good as it sounds, but yes. Senator.
In the meantime, I'd just like to throw out an idea. So right now, I kind of put in the amount of time that I've been spending and compared it to like a minimum wage. I make around anywhere and my honorarium.
Or you made a
I
mistake.
make like $4 an hour. So hypothetically, if I were to make minimum wage, that'd just be quadruple my honorarium. Right? And now that would mean that the amount of money that we spend, on, I guess, salaries would be 400,000 compared to an $18 million budget. 400,000 is kind of like a drop in the water for an $18 million budget.
Per quarter.
That's true. 1 million, oh wow. This 5%, 4% of budget being used.
Well, this next year's budget was
Almost 10.
Yes,
It's almost
but
10.
I'm just throwing an idea.
I think we are supposed to reevaluate the amount of honorarium per 2 years. And next year will be the time when we reevaluate honorarium.
Hopefully. I love it.
Inflation.
Wait, but it wouldn't apply to us though, right?
No,
It would apply for next year's people, not us. No, next year's.
I mean, we can apply to the association, but not us, because we are the one making the decision.
So what if we apply for retroactive honoraria once we graduate? Would it be like we get extra money?
But you need to wait your check. So they'll have to mail you the check, which will get lost. So you could try.
Does spring quarter honoraria get mailed out?
If it's announced, made in.
Senator Rowe.
Yes.
Is it, what's the deal?
Pick it up.
It's fine, we're gonna have to investigate further, so we might like do a motion. So it's a
Sounds good.
motion to pass on.
I've prepared a motion that I think would be an appropriate legal language. If somebody would like to make it. Senator Crossen.
Motion to approve winter 2024 and retroactive honoraria as listed in the linked spreadsheet, winter 2024 final public for an amount of $106,715 from relevant accounts as listed.
For Senator Carlson, there's been that motion by Senator Carlson,
Second.
seconded by Senator Carroll. No discussion. You call the question? Is there objection to call the question? Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, the motion passes, and I will affix my signature. John Hancock style. Forget something. Thank you. And I'll end the shoulder. Actually, do that in a second. Okay, so. The rest of the business of this meeting, other than the elections board relevant questions. There's a bill. So if it's okay with everyone, I think what I would like to do is go to old business. Work on this bill to establish the Controls and Compliance Office, and then go back to action items. The purpose of that is to allow our members of the press to leave and not have to come back after we exit closed session. Is that fine with everybody? Okay. Entering a bill to establish the Controls and Compliance Office, Senator Shaw.
Yes, so it says, so the last time, which is, I believe, 2 weeks ago, when we presented this bill, there are 2 main issues pointed out by senators. The first one was the use of legal languages, and as you can see right here, it has now been fixed. And second, it's the scope of the information that can be acquired through that office. We all agree it should be limited within their position in AS. And now we are making it more clear by adding these fields. Yeah, so basically if it's anything people have a problem with. And this is also one of the campaign promise of the MVP career. As you can see, he's a sponsor of that. If passed, David Junior Sim will be nominated as the Chief Compliance Officer. Yeah.
To the second, Senator Carlson.
The association, when we kind of were experimenting with finding out our financial situation back in the 73rd Senate, we found out that a lot of different organizations treat money differently. Whether that be with a spreadsheet on Google, an Excel file, whether it be writing messages in a direct message on Slack, organizations tabulate all of their finances in incredibly different ways. Not only will this office be able to help us kind of navigate the issues that are presented to us with all the issues that finances for an association as large as ours kind of present, it will also serve as kind of a unique training tool for us to be able to reach out to these organizations and be able to teach them or also learn from them and try to find a potentially a one-size-fits-all financial option that can help us kind of corroborate all of our financials across the board. And so this is a way for us with the Committee Reworked Act as well to be able to kind of centralize some of that information so that we'll be able to suit, we'll be better suited and better able to provide all the financial information that our BCUs and students who carry out their charges will need from us. I yield.
If you guys will allow me to make a comment, the basically first thing I did when I joined the Senate was create a temporary committee called the Controls and Compliance Committee, which I then chaired, which gave me basically all the knowledge that I have about this association. I think this is a really great development. That's my opinion. But leave it to you. Crickets. Senator Rep.
For some reason, I can't command deaf right now. Did you guys take out the part about subpoenaing or, okay, awesome.
Notices of production.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you.
Senator Apple.
Motion to pass a bill to establish a control and compliance office.
Second,
There's been a motion to pass a bill to establish a Controls and Compliance Office via hand vote, seconded by Senator Rowe. We're now discussion. Here, call the question. Is there objection to call the question?
Consent.
Is there objection, consent? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, I will treat abstentions the same way IVP Kalia does. Yes means yes pass, no means no pass, abstain means that your vote, you're abstaining. Raise your hand for yes.
Is this something? No, it's not. It's
13 yeses. Raise your hand for no. Raise your hand for abstain. The bill passes unanimously. Okay, with that, I'd invite the Senate to enter into a closed session to discuss elections board business in action items. Yes, 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 but
I'll keep it quick.
I would ask that somebody makes a closed session motion.
Well, yeah, so.
Oh, do you want to read something in public?
No, well, so in our discussion, I will do the closed session business in this talk right now. But what we talked about in recess was, let's approve the version 2 ballot that's on the agenda right there. That's public to everybody, and then we can hash out all the pending issues in closed session.
Sure.
And then we can either V3 or V2.5, whatever you want to call it afterwards. I can write it up. Is that fine?
That's fine.
So can you guys take a vote on V2 and then?
I'll get that done. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll direct everyone's attention to an item on the ballot on page, on the agenda. Fortunately, there are no page numbers that I'm seeing. I'm gonna add page numbers. Wait a second. Let me see. Scroll. Low down. Right there. If you look at page 8 of the agenda, I've now added numbers. You'll see 2024 ballot for Senate approval, parentheses V2.pdf. Everyone could please read that ballot and make a motion to approve or disapprove that ballot. That would be appropriate at this point. Senator Rep.
motion to approve the 2024 ballot for Senate approval V2.
There's been a motion to approve the 2024 ballot for Senate approval V2. Seconded by Senator Yanagishu. We're on discussion. Call the question. Is there objection to call the question?
Consent.
Objection to consent. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay. I know everyone's tired, but I'd ask everyone like 3
re-energize for a bit. We're almost there, and there's actually some pretty important and quite complicated business that we need to get to. Could somebody please motion to enter a closed session? Senator,
Motion to enter a closed session.
it's been a motion to enter a closed session. Do you want to invite anyone?
Rescind my previous motion.
That motion was rescinded. Senator,
Motion to enter a closed session inviting the executive director, the Senate, the minute takers, the director of community engagement, the director of governmental affairs, the chair of the elections board. That's it.
it's been a motion to enter a closed session inviting the Senate, the executive director, the director of community engagement, the associate director for government affairs, and the chair of the elections board, and the minute takers. Uh, 1 second, just give me a moment. Sorry, can we wrap that up, please? That's great.
She's typing.
Oh, why not?
It's where you started writing.
No, I just forgot.
No, you started writing it down.
Oh, I didn't.
You can move it. She's like-
Been a motion to enter a closed session inviting the executive director, the Senate, the assistant director for community engagement, the assistant director, the associate director, of community engagement, the assistant director of governmental affairs, the minute takers, and the elections board chair, seconded by Senator Kara. We're now in discussion.
Call the question.
If you call questions or objection, call the question. Is there objection to consent? Hearing none, the motion passes. I'm sorry about that, if you guys, thank you. We turn off the live stream, please. And feel free to stop. We're in close, so you don't have to take it. You can just jump. Get ready.
How's everyone doing? Are we doing good?
I'm lit.
I'm sorry, I'm
Wait,
being a
we're-
pain in the ass recently. I know.
We're not,